fairly substantial. That's really good. Now on the general fund, which that's on the modified accrual basis of counting, it's more in line with the way you budget from year to year. There was an increase or net income of $9,400. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is positive in relation to, looking long term, especially over the last 10 years. That's good. We've had a lot of years where we had negative decrease in fund balance or after the net loss. To me, one of the biggest highlights and positive things in the last several years has been this loss funds. We've had several issues, and the current issue is going full steam. Expenditures for the 12 months ending September 30th were almost $3.5 million. Now, of that, about 1.6 was used to pay back the bonds, and that's money that was advanced to us so we could get projects started, the city could get their project started. So we do have to pay those advance funds back, but as far as actual projects, there was almost 1.9 million spent on actual projects. And I don't anywhere in the report it actually lists specific projects, but I'll just, for everybody's benefit, go over some of the large ones. There was $250,000 spent on the construction of an ambulance station. A little over $230,000 on renovating the E911 building. Over $600,000 in upgrading the E911 system as far as equipment upgrades. Paving of priority roads of $586,000. There was $56,000 spent on recreation, acquiring land and equipment for that, and $46,000 on sheriff. That's a lot of expenditures that are paid with this additional tax money that otherwise would have to be funded by the general fund. So, it's been a great benefit to the county, and it's good to see these projects going forward and taking place. Again, this is the statement of net position, which is would be the equity on a full accrual basis, and it actually increased, as we said, for 2015. If you look over, especially like the last 3 years, which are probably the most comparable, there hasn't been a whole lot of change. We've got probably the increase in that position this year was primarily due to the decrease in liabilities by paying down debt. Not a big increase in assets, but we did pay down our debt. So there's not really been a lot of change in that in the last couple of years. And then this is the general fund balance, and this is what's typically considered as the real bellwether marker of the health of the county. The fund balance represents your available spendable resources, and of course you would hope that would be a positive number. Right now we do have a negative fund balance of about $1 million. As you can see, though, it has been decreasing over time. And again, we had a small profit, net income, so to speak, in 2015, so it decreased a little bit. And I think you'll probably see your tan note mirrors this. If you've got $1 million deficit in fund balance, you're probably going to have about $1 million tan note going forward, because you basically you've already used those resources up going into the next period, so you've got to make that up somehow. But again, as long as the general fund has a decrease in fund balance over time, hopefully that will reverse itself, and eventually, that will take time, but eventually, hopefully we'll see a positive fund balance. Again, when we say change in fund balance, we're basically saying net income. 2015 is a mighty small slice of pie there, but it is positive, so we're happy to see that. 2011, pretty big loss. 2012, up a little bit. 2013, loss again. And the thing that really stands out is 2014. And the reason that there was such a large positive change in fund balance during that year was there was a transfer of unused loss funds into the general fund to help economic development. So actually it's kind of a one-time situation, certainly not something to count on, but state law has a hierarchy of how you spend loss funds, and if you get to the point where you completed all your projects, or there's a project that it wasn't feasible to perform, that money is available to pay down debt. And that was the case in 2014. So that is why that year appears so much better than other years. It's really due to those transfers of loss funds. Y'all please, if you have any questions or comments, please. The next slide shows the long-term liabilities of the county. And you just look at it, it looks like a tremendous dollar amount, but the general obligation bonds, those were advances loss funds, and they're going to be paid back with loss proceeds. So the only way that would negatively impact the county is if we missed our projection of the sales tax revenue and come up short at the end. I don't think that's going to be the case. Capital leases, that's equipment purchases, that's a real deal. Compensated absences is just an accounting entry for the value of unused vacation time. The intergovernmental agreement, that is servicing the debt for the IDA for the North Meriwether Industrial Park. And then the last, and it's fairly substantial, is landfill post-closure costs. And we really think that number is probably overstated fairly considerably. That number was based on engineering projection 20-some odd years ago. And the actual expense the county's incurred over the years is much less than that. In fact, the EPD estimate, which is typically higher than what we would come up with, is I think 1.6 million now. So that's, I don't think there's going to be anywhere near that outlay to take care of the post-closure cost of landfill. Getting kind of further along than I think this is like the 20th or 21st year of 30 years. So there's not a whole lot left to go on that. So I can't imagine we'll be anywhere near that kind of liability going forward. This is just a graph showing the mix of the revenues for the general fund, which is where most of the financial activity flows through the county. As you can see, you've got a fairly steady income stream, but there's no big increases. So that means you've got X number of dollars to work with. Property taxes is obviously the bread and butter. It makes up over 60% of the total revenue. So it's unpopular as it may be, if it ever comes time that you need a larger revenue stream, that's probably where we need to go. And this is the other side of the coin, expenditures, and especially looking over the last few years, they've been fairly constant, which means y'all have done a good job in controlling costs. There's maybe a slight uptick in public safety this year, but not much compared to going back to 2011 to 2012. It's still much less than what we were spending for public safety. So again, you've got pretty much your revenues and expenditures are equaling each other right now. So it's a matter of controlling expenditures and hopefully in the future having a higher revenue stream too. And this is just a pie chart again showing expenditures, and this is for the entire county, not just the general fund, but also includes loss, includes what we call the non-major funds that roll into one column on financial statements, and that's like the P911, law library, the sheriff drug funds, all those smaller funds. So it includes all that activity in the county. Of course, by far the largest dollar amount is public safety, which it should be. And, of course, that is based on function. That public safety includes several departments. It includes the sheriff, the jail, inmate care, EMS, E911. So that's there are a lot of services that are 3, of course, capital outlay is separate, so the capital outlay part of that would not be included in that. We can drill down and try to get a better handle on what that building was, as far as which department and which, that's a line item that department calls that. We'll do that and get back. And then, last, we always go over all the findings we have, and we have already discussed these with management. My guess is a lot of them have already been addressed, so just keep that in mind as we go over them. As we go through and we have what we call management points and findings. At the end of the day, we sit down and look at them, and we have to decide how significant they are. And there are basically 3 levels. There's what's called material weakness, which is absolute worst. That's almost saying like it's just a matter of time before something goes wrong. This is such a terrible, the internal controls are so lax that something eventually is going to happen. We did not have any material weaknesses this year. We did have 3 what we call significant deficiencies, and those are significant enough they are reported in the actual audit report. The first 2, they're just there in almost every report we prepare. They're inherent to small government, small audit of the county staff within the government. So really no need to talk about those, I don't think. We did have 1 on bank reconciliations. We performed timely, both in the commissioner's office and the sheriff's department. The commissioners, they weren't terribly late. They were maybe a month or 2 behind. And the sheriff's, there was 1 account, commissary account, that was several months behind. And bank reconciliation, that's just your most basic control. And the key to that is to those be performed timely so that if there is an issue, you can catch it, address it, and that it doesn't go forward. It can be difficult if you have to go back several months and try to find to address an issue, whether it's just an error or if it is some type of fault. So that's the reason that rose to the level of actually being included in the audit report. And then in addition, you have what we call 114 letter or communications with governance, and that should be in your packet. And it'll have several less severe findings or recommendations. In some cases, they're just recommendations. We know that 1 instance or 2 instances where one of the controls y'all have in place is someone reviews the list of checks before they're issued. And that's documented by someone initially in that report, and we did see evidence that that report was reviewed in some cases. Down the payroll deposits, that it's important to make timely deposits primarily because of the penalties. They're just unforgiving penalties in payroll. Found an instance where there was a late deposit, there were some penalties assessed because of that. The city fuel billing, that's where y'all basically as a service provide fuel to some of the local governments. But it's improved greatly. At one time, I think, we discovered that bills weren't even being sent out for some of the usage. The only comment we had on that this year, there is 1 or 2 governments, I don't know, a couple that are not current on the tables. And you're doing this as a service, it's not a profit motive in this, so certainly need to be reimbursed for it. It's just a courtesy to other local governments, and it's money out of your pocket. Get that money back into it. 1 on general ledger posting errors. We did note a few more posting errors this year where revenues were posted the wrong account, revenue and expenses were posted together. And you're never going to have a perfect set of books. That's just not realistic, but it's to help us get with more careful review, you can prevent some of these posting errors, and it reduces your audit fee, because when we come in, if we have to do additional analysis to basically clean up the books, it just increases the time we spend in our fees based on time. So official both in the terms that gives you better financial information, interim financial information, and it also decreases audit fees. Under its own audit procedures, we did note that sometimes the audits were infrequent once a month, which is not, ideally it would be daily. If they're taking in very little money, then it could be weekly, some other frequency, but certainly more than monthly. And I know that, I'm sure that's already been addressed. You now have a third-party billing system that prepares your EMS billing, and they also make deposits, so you're really relying on them. And but they do send you reports, and they send you the bank reconciliation. And we did note that there was an error in the bank reconciliation. The deposit was outstanding for several months. So we're just recommending there that somebody within the county maybe perform a more careful review of the reports they send you. But you can't just assume that they're not going to make any errors. They certainly can't. And what we'd like to see in a situation like this is for them to have and we're familiar with other EMS operations. Most everybody is outsourcing. It's a win-win for the county, obviously, because of those wins. I remember back when the county was doing their own billing, it was just a nightmare. Behind was accurate. The amount of money you're spending on salaries is just not practical. It's a much better option. But what we'd really like to see is them to have some type of audit of their internal controls, where we know that we can rely on those reports. And we see this in other industries, in banking, most banks outsource a lot of their accounting work, but at a minimum, please review the information that's sent. You don't just assume that it's correct. Look at reasons and make sure that it was accurate. So that's the bulk of our presentation. Once more, just to remind you, we are on board if you ever want to become a CAFR. I know we talked about this last year. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but the bond folks love it. It helps on your bond rating. That's the big advantage of it. It does require additional work, both for y'all and for us. And again, if you decide to do this, and a lot of the time for us will be setting up the additional schedules that need to go in the audit report. If you can get us information that we can do in May and June, there'll be no fee for that. We've got slow time in May and June. That might be hard to pull off this year. It maybe you can start now, or probably realistically, you would have to start now for 2017 to get all the information. So maybe this time, next year, next May and June, perhaps. That is we do have slow time. I'd rather be helping y'all out. Have folks just sitting around, so be happy to do that. Yes, man. He probably said I'd rather go to fishing. But we all live here. We own the property and homes here. We're part of the county, so anything we can do to help you out, we will. We have very little audit work at that time of year. Get in July, and from July until into April, we're slammed with all we can do. If we can help during that period, we will do it without charging any fees. Y'all have any questions or comments?
Yes, I think I would. I've got one question. Mr. Middlebrooks, before you presented us with this review, I assume your procedure, you closed with our folks? Did you do an audit close before you left here?
An audit close? Actually, the county staff performed the actual audit close themselves.
Were you involved in that process?
No, sir. What we do, we provide audit entry. In other words, when we're performing our test work, we do know adjustments that need to be made in the financial, in the county records. And we present those adjustments to management for approval.
I guess my question was, had you had time to shed light, or they did, on any of these things that you brought up prior to the,
We came in.
We were on a different way.
I was thinking auditing rather than actual audit findings. Yes, we met with
so you
Mr.
were,
Gregory,
okay.
Mr. Gregory
Bill,
and
there,
Bill. And we discussed all these findings ahead of time. Got their acknowledgement that yes, those were legitimate comments.
Good deal.
And we also make recommendations, which I didn't go over, but you'll see recommendations when you read the report, you'll see that we make
Certainly.
recommendations. And I know a lot of them are going to address. I don't know if they want to respond to that now, it might be appropriate to do that later. But they were taken very seriously by management, and my guess is I bet all of those have been addressed.
And you certainly gave us adequate time for correction, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That is part of our job, that's part of what we're charged with, is communicating any issues in internal control or compliance with laws and regulations. To be all support.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
we do give management a chance to respond to that before that's an issue.
Appreciate that. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Any other questions? Any comments, Mr. Gay?
No, but we appreciate the good job they did. And I appreciate the hard work that the finance staff, Bill and his staff did. A lot of work getting all this together. It has already been said, some of the findings, it's hard to segregate the duties when you're a small office. But a lot of this stuff has already been addressed. And I know Bill's putting even more procedures in to pretty sure that we do things going forward to address those. But again, I appreciate the good job that Charlie and his group did, and also the good job Bill and his staff did getting this together.
So there's nothing there we can't live with.
That's all.
We do appreciate all.
Just to put in context, typically we would have more findings than this. I mean, we perform a very detailed audit, and I say on average, as far as in the actual audit report, we would have 4 to 6 findings.
So you had actually what you would call one good solid finding here, and the other
And the others
two
were-
you pretty much expected?
I think that there's nothing that, and again, the county's complex. There's a lot going on. You've got a very small accounting staff. So the expectations, you can't have expectations above what you provide and, your folks to work with.
Next time, butter us up at the first, and we'll feel better. Appreciate that.
We do appreciate your hard work, and appreciate your interest, and you are invested in the county. We always appreciate the advice you give us and the help you give, and always the offer to help us. We do appreciate it. And I'm sure y'all probably got other things you need to do. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but know that you've probably got a lot to do. Tax deadline is coming.
Thank you.
And if any of y'all have any questions that you're looking for, feel free to contact us.
Okay,
We have to meet with you again one-on-one or otherwise.
thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to add that most of the credit for any savings that we have, any increase in fund balance, is directed to the constitutional officers and the department heads, because they control their budget, so they really work diligently and hard to make sure they come under budget.
Good deal.
And of course, the guidance that the board gives us in setting policy gives us a blueprint to operate by.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have some prizes to award to the county wellness program. Does anybody want to speak about that, what the actual contest was?
It was we call it the biggest winner contest, but it was a weight loss program of approximately 6 weeks. You weighed in to start, and then we had weekly weigh-ins to generate interest in the program, to make let everybody know how they were doing. And then a final weigh-in last week, and I don't remember the numbers exactly, but we had over 50 people participate in it, and I think it's safe to say that through the efforts of the wellness program that we have done, I think it has helped with our health insurance premiums over the past couple of years.
Okay, we've got some winners to announce, and if anybody is here, you're certainly welcome to come up and get your prize. And first place for the individual, which was a $500 prize, is William Schoenfeld.
Come get his, Chris.
Or who? Is he in your?
Will is one of mine.
Okay, all right. Second place individual, Nate Lawler, for $225.
She's one of ours.
One of yours too.
Oh, my
Okay. Third place individual, $150, Shawanda Gates,
She's a 911.
911. Okay. All right, then we had some teams. First place team was the Renegades for $500, and that's a team of EMS and Sheriff's Office. Second place was the Heavy D and Boys, $225. That was EMS also. Third place, $150, Show Me the Honey. That was a team made up from 911. And then the individual who lost the most pounds, $250 prize, also goes to Nate Lawler. He did extremely well.
Sure did.
Congratulations to all of these employees. We do appreciate all your participation. And we'll certainly get these to the supervisors where you can get these to the individuals. And appreciate the participation. I'm sure there'll be something else coming up soon for us to work on. Next on the agenda is City of Greenville request to review estimate on street repairs.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Mayor Glover and I had spoken. She'd sent us a letter asking if we would, the county would simply take a look at their streets, give them, some estimates on time and cost and whatever. Of course, what we've been doing is, is providing labor and equipment to be able to do it. The cities have been working on providing the materials. And what we'll do is I'll get with Public Works and we'll get that analyzed for them, give them the cost of what it would take. And then, again, as we schedule, as we're near Greenville, we'll schedule that work as part of our work to cut down on the number of, relocates that we do with our staff. But we'll get that information to this there Glover, and we'll move forward with helping them.
Okay. Is there anything we need to vote on?
I just really want you guys to be aware of that. That's kind of the standard procedure we're using, and we'll be moving forward with that.
Okay. All right, Ms. Glover will be working with you. All right, next on the agenda is the request for relocation of a manufactured home. Mr. Gay, you want to give us the information?
Yes, ma'am. Sure do. Let me get the things I put together here with this. We've got a gentleman, Mr. Bullock, who is asking to be able to move a manufactured home. He has some property, his wife has some property they want to locate it to, and they've had some issues that they've had to deal with, and so they very much desire to move and relocate that mobile home. The issue is there's really no problem with moving, is within the age limit and whatever that they can be able to move it. But the problem is it isn't large enough to meet our square footage requirements. It has to be 1,200, and Ron's here, 1,250 square feet of footage, and it's about 500 square foot short. We've looked at this, and considering all the issues that are here, our recommendation would be that we allow it to be moved, but place a time period on that where he would be required to bring it up to the county standards in terms of square footage. That's not a lot like building a house, because he'll have a period of time. Ron had suggested maybe like a year and a half or so to do that. My recommendation would be that you choose a date and time like December the 31st, 2017. That would be approximately a year and a half, because he's still got some things to do. He's going to have to get a well permit, septic permit. He's going to have to get a permit to do his construction once he starts that. And if he doesn't have a well or a septic tank, he's going to have to add those. And so there's a little bit of work yet to be done. But I think it needs to be made very clear up front, yes, we're going to allow you to do this. but you've got this time period in order that you must bring it up and add the addition to the house.
Is this the same parcel of land?
No, sir, it's a
No,
different parcel.
It's not, it's just right down the road. This is actually in my district, and it is a hardship case in several factors for them, and I have been in contact with them because the expense of adding a septic tank and a well is going to be a huge expense, not to mention the fees they have to go along with this. And there are neighbors in the community that are really trying to come together to help this family make this move. But there's a lot of health issues there, and then there's just some other issues with family. We'll just put it that way.
I'll say this, people are related to me, there's some family dynamics there. So they need to move away from each other.
Clarify the space again, I don't understand.
We have,
What's our ordinance that's limiting them to move in that space? I don't.
Minimum square footage of a structure at 1,250 square feet.
that's our minimum.
And they're about 500 square feet or so short of that.
So they're about 750.
Yes, about
Yeah,
750.
And you're talking about the
Heated square footage.
heated square
space.
footage of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
So how do they make up that difference?
What they would do, they would have to add an addition to the home. And there are people in the community that I think are working with getting that addition added for them. Once they add that addition, they will meet the minimum square footage.
Okay, I get that. So that makes it a more permanent place? It makes it no longer a mobile? Does it change that? Since you,
It is generally what happens, and I think Joey may be here, but if you have a manufactured home,
is it a manufactured home or is it a mobile home?
I haven't seen it personally. Manufactured home.
Okay, so that gives me a
Right.
different outlook. Okay,
And
that's fine.
so when they move into their own property, they'll probably file for homestead exemption,
Okay.
and the addition will make it one of those things where I would assume Joey and his staff will then appraise it as a structure very much likely to be a house.
I need to add a bedroom or something.
So what we're actually doing is just granting time for them to come up to standard. That's all we're doing.
That's right. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'll just take when I've talked with the homeowner, and I'll just tell you some of the things. I mean, he's in his late 40s, and he is on disability. He's already had several heart attacks, open heart surgery, several stents. He's also diabetic. There's just numerous medical issues there, but then there's also issues where I think maybe this was family property and it's being divided after a death in the family. You know how those kind of things go sometimes. But he has been able to purchase 5 acres of land just right down the road, and it's the only home his daughter's ever lived in, and of course they want to keep it, and they just don't have the money for it. And permits to do everything alone are, gosh, they're $1,000 or so just for that. And the only permit that we have any, if I'm not mistaken, that we have any say over would be the $200 to move it. Is that correct? Everything else comes through the health department?
And the permit requires what, 500 additional square feet.
Yes, which that would
Right.
come at the time he got ready to
Right.
build.
That $200 would be basically to move it and add 500 square feet. The build it on $200. Well, it'd be around $200. Or the permit bill.
Yeah, and like I said, the one to start the addition, that would come at the time they were able to start the addition, which if we do it December 31st, that is about a year and a half for them to hopefully get on their feet. But like I said, they got a good bit of expense just with trying to get a well and septic tank. And they do need to be separated. The only other thing I'd like to ask, and I mean, it would be for the board's consideration, and Ron could certainly comment on this, I would like to see about us waiving the $200 fee that we control, because even without that, they still got $850 in fees to pay before they can ever even get started. And I think this is an extreme hardship case with all the information being given.
I think you could either do that or you could delay it if you wanted to until time for the construction
Construction, okay.
permit. I think you could do that without any issue, just
Okay.
delay it. I mean, we're delaying the time to get him to have it up to.
Okay, now, like I said, just keeps me having to try to come up with all that at
Absolutely.
one time, because I just don't know.
It's expensive, as you say, and your well and septic system, hopefully he already has a well. That'll save a
No.
lot, but he doesn't.
There's no
Okay. Well,
And like I said, there are people in the community that are coming together to actually trying to do some of this work and to help them. They see it's sort of a dire situation.
absolutely.
So, with all that being said, since it's in my district, I would like to make the motion that we allow them till December 31st to make the addition to the home and also postpone the fee from the county of the $200 until that time.
2017.
2017, yes, I'm sorry.
And what we'll do is we'll be engaged with him in the meantime to, and the people that are trying to help him to understand where they don't get into November and say,
Yeah,
oh gosh,
that's
I gotta
right.
do this. They really need to get it started and
Oh, yeah.
and move it along.
Okay.
Okay.
I would second that.
Okay, any discussion?
That delay is just delaying the cost until 2/17.
That's right. Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And you certainly get in touch with the family as well as those that are trying to help them so they can get moving. I appreciate it.
I would like to say something, not on that, but it's brought something else to what we need to look at as a board too, because of tiny house nation that's going on now and all these different things. We need to start looking at our ordinances in the county and considering doing things for those smaller homes that people can afford to build and not be so in debt to larger homes in this community. So not because of this, but I am thankful that this came forward with the 750 square feet, because we do need to start looking at differences. It may be a way that we can get more people into this county by allowing smaller homes on smaller lots of land. And I know that's another day, another discussion, but we do need to start looking into that.
And there's certainly a move toward that.
I'm being approached for the same square footage.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll have our report from our finance director.
Okay, Madam Chair, you have 3 reports that I've given you. The first one is the county bank balances. We still have a robust balance in the general fund, which we usually do at this time of the year. If you'll drop down toward the end, you see the landfill account, and that's what Charlie was talking about on that closure thing with the landfill. It's at $902,000. Mr. Gay and I have been talking about that, and we're going to try to meet with EPA and start the process to reduce that so we can have those funds available for other uses. Any other questions on the bank balances?
Madam Chair, I do.
Yes,
On
ma'am.
that one for the landfill, just for clarity, that is the Durant landfill?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because we have 2 landfills in the county.
It's the one in
so-
Durant.
So
Yes,
just so for clarity, that's the.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thanks.
The next report is the tax analysis. If you drop down to 2015, which is our current year, we're almost at 90% collection through end of February. Collected about $400,000 during the month of February, so I think we're committed to the Department of Revenue to be at 95% prior to the next tax digest going out, and the tax commissioner's aware of that, and they're working to get that on up there, as well as trying to collect the $431,000 for prior years. When I do this report, each one of those years, all the way back to 2009, we chip off a little bit of that each month. So slowly but surely, they're getting that balance down. And the last report is a budget analysis for the first quarter of the fiscal year, be through December 31st. And I've highlighted a couple of areas of not really concerned, but just to make you aware of. If you'll drop down to the tax commissioner's office, she should have 75% remaining. She only has 69%, and that's due to some upfront costs that they pay related to getting the tax digest out and billed. Postage, the website vendor and then the company that does the actual processing of that. That's the same, you say, with the tax assessor's office as well. They pay their web service up front. The one that we do have some concern with, Kai and I have been talking about it, under court services, we've used approximately half of the budget we have for jury duty. And she does have potentially 2 or 3 murder trials coming up before the end of the fiscal year, so we may go over in that line item, but she's watching that like a hawk. Public defender, you notice that we're over budget on that also. We've paid a month ahead. We've 6 months in, 3 months into the year, we'd already paid for 4 months. We'll watch that and make sure we don't pay 13 months. We just pay the 12. And on the next page under community services, we've paid the Three Rivers dues. That's why that percentage left is only 15%. Overall, we have 78% remaining, and we benchmark is 75%, so we're under budget for this time of the year. Revenues, of course, the way our property tax collections work, we've collected half of our revenue 3 months into the year. So that results in the hefty general fund balance, but at the next 3 or 4 months, that balance will be dropping significantly, and we'll have to sit and talk about the TAN at that time. And if you got any specific questions right now, I'm glad to try to answer them.
On your last page there, on the date budget, we just spent $8,000 out of that fund. What do we have left?
About 80,000.
About
81,000.
81,000.
Okay, 81.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When we receive grant money, where does it go in? Does it go in the general fund?
It goes to the general fund under a line item for the particular grant.
Because now that we've got all these other grants coming along, when are we starting on the Lake Meriwether? Because I know we received that $100,000 grant.
Trail.
Yeah.
I think you guys are working on surveys right now.
We're talking to a couple of different surveyors and trying to get an idea of what that survey is going to cost.
And when are we going to have that? Because there's deadlines, time frames that you have to
Yes,
use that
sir,
money.
there are.
So
We've incurred some cost, and we'll be able to apply for that cost on the April 13th reporting time period. But we may have some problems on the survey. It's looking like it's going to be considerably more than what we had originally estimated. We'll try to get that firmed up this week, and I'll let you guys know.
yeah, I'd like to see what you got so far.
Madam Chair, this is the survey for the Montgomery?
Survey for
For the
Lake
lake, the walking.
Lake Meriwether.
Walkington. We need to get a survey to find out exactly where the property line is around the lake before we start any clearing or anything.
Yeah, okay.
The problem with that survey is it's not like a regular straight
Right.
property line. It's a, elevation for the high, for the lake level. So that in itself makes it a more difficult survey than going from point A to point B. So
Just want to make sure we don't miss the time frame.
absolutely, you're right.
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Bill regarding the court service. You're saying, just clarify that again, I didn't hear everything you said about
I'm
that.
sorry.
On the court services,
Yes, ma'am.
you're saying that we want to stay within that 12 months, so is that, they're spending more because they have more their case
Potentially
loads?
have more cases than what we estimated. The last couple of years, she spent 30,000 and 35,000 on jury duty, so we budgeted 40,000 for this year. Right now, she spent half of it.
Okay, goes back to the discussion we had a couple of weeks ago about the increase in caseload.
Yes, ma'am. But of course, she doesn't know if those will go to trial this fiscal year or next fiscal year, or if they'll go to trial at all. But we're watching that real closely.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll have a report from Mr. Gay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. CSX, I think I mention CSX every meeting. It's a constant arm wrestling contest. Anyway, I played phone tag with a gentleman in Jacksonville. Got a voicemail back from him early this morning. Tried to call him and couldn't get him. But anyway, the voicemail said that basically they're very interested in working with us. And that they are in the process of trying to prepare the paperwork. And I will be communicating with him again. So we went from whatever to no to we're very interested in working with you. So, and we're working on paperwork. So I'll follow through, and we're going to keep chipping away till we get an agreement to do something we need to do. So, want to give you guys an update.
I got a call this week, somebody saw in the paper where about the CSX article, well, if we're talking to CSX, they just want us to come on down and talk about their bridge too. So
Right.
we may have some more to talk about.
So we're continuing to, to play that game. So we're going to do something with that. Shooting range, just to let you guys know, we're going to be getting started on that and some other projects here very, very soon. I'm meeting on Friday with the 4-H shooting group, and they're just coming in. We're going to sit and kind of lay this out of what they need on a aerial photograph. We'll scale it out where we'll know kind of what it's going to look like, orientation of the range. They're interested in archery from 20 to 50 yards. So we're going to do all of that on Friday. I think it's about 3:30. They're just going to stop by, and we're going to talk about that. At some point, yes, sir, be right here. And we are going to probably need a work session at some point to be able to discuss a few things. One of the things that I really am going to need to go over with you guys relatively soon is some of this transportation projects. After we meet with FEMA, GEMA, we'll get a good feel for what we're going to be able to do. The thing with dealing with them is oftentimes you can get like upgraded projects through hazard mitigation. The downside of it is it strings that out in terms of time. But if we can have assurance that we're going to be able to upgrade these structures that have washed out or whatever, I think the time is worth the wait. But we want to see and meet with them. But I do need to talk to you guys about that, about what our transportation program is going to be. I will, next week, I'm hoping to be able to finish our specs and RFP for the paving that we need to send out, and also some estimates on our striping program, which I want to get over to GDOT to get into their program. And in doing so, I just need some feedback from you guys on what we've got. Also, Bruce, Bill, and Tyrell and I have been talking about equipment and what's needed. I brought that up here, I think, last meeting. And talked to some more people that I know that are in that business, and they support what we feel is that we need to take a different look and different direction, and we need to look at some other equipment other than trying to get in the paving business, and that would include like bobcats or skid steer loaders and little trenchers and various other things that we can work. So I really need to talk about that. In fact, I may, we may have something we need to look at later this week that I may just need to call you on and
Do
talk
we need
with
to go
you.
ahead and try to set a date for a work session?
That would be good if,
Since we all
that
right
would be
here
good
with-
if you guys wanted to do that. It sure would.
Madam Chair, I had mentioned him prior to, there was always a designated time for work session, and I really would like the board to go back to that. It doesn't have to be every month, but at least maybe every other month, and if we know that it's there, if we had to make some changes, we can always go back and change that, but designate that, because there's a lot that we've got to deal with this year, and Public Works, and the striping and all of that, having that opportunity to do that in more detail, because it's a very long, it's a lot to be discussed. So
Yeah,
I would
and
suggest
we
that
need
if
to
we
move
can do
forward
it,
with that. Yeah.
do it in between the two. Do it somewhere before, prior to that, you all had it the first Wednesday. And I think if you do it in between the two commissioners' meeting, you've had a chance to, what we've discussed in the commissioners' meeting, and follow up on that. So my recommendation is done somewhere in between the two meetings.
That would be next week, if we
Yeah.
want to. what works for everybody.
I'm available Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I think I leave for Tipton, but I leave later in the day.
If at all possible, Monday is not a good day for me. You know, we could do it early the following, what is our
22nd.
22nd.
Next meeting.
Because the way this month fell.
Would you want to do it early that day?
On the day of the meeting, that's fine with me.
And then maybe we could go to a
A set time.
set time, but at least
You
get
want to
this
do it
one.
the day of the regular commissioners meeting that evening?
We could,
So-
if that works. I'm just thinking about you guys having to come. We'll be here, but
How long?
sometimes it's
How long would the
easy.
meeting need to be? How long would the meeting need to be?
Hour and a half.
Set
Probably.
for
So we're talking 4
Set
o'clock.
at 4 o'clock.
They'll give us a little bit of break between that and our meeting. Ron, what works for you? I mean, you,
That's fine.
4 o'clock?
Well, see, early next week's gonna, I mean, we had it Monday or Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna really push me to try to get those,
Yeah, I'm not available next
I'm
week.
not available Monday or
Okay.
Tuesday, either one.
because I need a little time to do that.
And then after that, we'll discuss what other times and just set those
Absolutely.
times, and everybody's calendar will know prior to that.
So work session 4 o'clock on the 22nd.
Okay, that works.
Can we just keep it right at an hour and a half so we can at least have a little bit of break before we start our meeting?
We'll do that,
Because
we'll do that, for sure. We're gonna just limit it to this transportation topic, so we're not gonna get really off on a lot of other things. Okay, thank y'all, that'll work fantastic. Other thing I wanted to mention, and we haven't talked about this a lot, but I spoke last night to a group, really good citizens, really nice. And one thing I brought up was this water and sewer bond refinance. You know, it's not flashy, it's not something that you think about, but, you know, I appreciate, as a taxpayer here, I appreciate the insight of the commissioners to move forward with that, because in reality, you saved about $700,000. That's a significant amount of money. You also reduced and made a debt service much more manageable, from $1.12 million down to $690,000. Something that is a goal that the Water and Sewer Department, with some love and some more customers, can achieve. So that's something I think that has been out there for a while and had been kind of batted around. But I applaud you guys for taking that step, moving forward and doing that, because that is really a pretty big deal when you stop and look at it. That's almost 2 bills worth of taxes and savings. And, you know, I just think you guys need to be, you know, given credit for your foresight of that. I went the other day and I met with West Georgia Technical College. I had to meet with them at another location on the matter, and I asked them when they were back down in Meriwether to call me, I'd just like to see the facility and some of the programs that they got. So I had a chance to go over and meet with them. Good meeting. Kind of want to follow through with them a little bit. There may be some things that we could do to work together. And I know some of you guys are working on that already. But you know, just it was a good opportunity to get to be there. Met with USDA on the grants, and Commissioner Hines, I'm sure, is going to fill you guys in on that. Met with Mayor Glover on a couple items, and I want to say I appreciate her willingness to work with us on things, and you know, I think we're going to have, I know we're going to have a good relationship there working with the city of Greenville going forward. Had a chance also to take a look at the Greenville Gym as a possible recreation facility for the county. Vic is in the process of getting someone to take a look at the floor. The biggest thing we've got is there was a water line break and it flooded the floor, and it's both the wood up in some places. So we're looking to see what it might take. Sometime you can kind of saw that out and bring that back down. So we're looking at all of that as an option of helping us with with the program. And other than that, we just got a lot of things going on right now. And it seems like when we try to get to the top of something, there's something new we have to deal with. But that's part of the job. And do have a need for executive session for litigation, personnel, and That's it.
Thank you. We now have a report from our county commissioners. Commissioner Threadgill,
I don't have anything at this point.
Commissioner Flint.
The only thing I'm gonna mention is, some of the calls that I've received have involved trash being number one, and, then, 18-wheelers using secondary roads really causing damage. And I know in talking to Public Works, we have a great need that's out there, especially when it comes to potholes and, other issues. And my concern is that, with this beautiful weather we're having, the calls are probably going to increase, and it's probably almost a situation where I don't have an answer. Because I think that Public Works is doing the best that they can, but that we've just got some problems with roads and all, and especially compounded with bridges, and looking forward to meetings that we can resolve and get some contracts in place, especially since the 3 roads that are out are in my district. So,
That's right.
anyway, or at least 3 of the several. But that's it, and I just appreciate all the hard work that the employees are doing. So thank you.
The only thing I want to say, just want to express my appreciation for all of you being here today. This is a great crowd. We appreciate you being concerned and interested in what's going on with the county, and appreciate you being here. Commissioner McCoy.
It is good to see you all this morning. Couple things I wanted to run by. Commander of Post 186 asked me to mention there will be a recognition for Vietnam vets at Post 186 this Monday night, and it's not just for post veterans at all, it's for any Vietnam veterans. So just want to pass that on to you. I would like to say a thank you here. Misty, your article was quite appropriate that you did for the paper, and I think it was quite informative. It certainly put the animal shelter in a nice light. The other thing I was going to mention, I guess, is roads. That's where my calls are coming in. And one in particular, Bruce, is Panther Creek. See if we can do something on that end. I've checked it a couple of times, and if you're driving a car, you do have a problem getting through there. You can scrub your bottom. So if there's anything there that we can do to alleviate that situation, let's please do it. And it looks like it's deteriorated almost to the point where it's got to be dug out and maybe something else put back in there.
Is that the one on the east end?
That's the one on the Alberton end. Yes, it is. Yeah, if you take a look at that, I'd sure appreciate it. And I think that's the only thing I've got here.
Commissioner Hines.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I have a lot. Not a lot. Last week, USDA was here in our county. We met with the regional district and the southeast director for the entire southeast area. His name is Mr. Gregory Dale, and I want to thank Mayor Prather for allowing us to come to his wonderful city of Warm Springs. Mayor Glover was also in attendance of that meeting, and Mr. Gay. You all hear me talk about USDA a lot, and one of the main reasons is Meriwether County is just one of those counties that fits most of all their criteria as far as services they can provide. So they wanted to know what we had going on in the county, and quite naturally the work that Warm Springs is doing with USDA was just an idea to meet in Warm Springs. The city of Greenville is also working with USDA. Basically what they asked of us is to list projects, things that are going on in the county and in the cities, and if we can submit that to them, they would then identify what programs, be it grants or loans, that would help us move this along. So it was exciting to have them in our county, and they all stopped and ate at the Bullet House, thoroughly enjoyed their lunch there, so that was a good thing. And Mr. Dale said he was going to make sure that he posted on their website about how good the food was at the Bullet House. So that's extra PR for us, so that's really, really good. The other thing is trash, and you've heard everyone speak about it. It is truly out of control in our county. And Ms. Jane, I thank you for all the work that you're doing, and hopefully we can get more people involved. I received several calls this past week from people within the Granville area. Because when you're leaving out of Granville from Coweta coming in Meriwether County on Forest Road, that's your entrance into Meriwether County. And And unfortunately, it does look extremely bad in that area. It's not just trash, it's tires, it's sofas, you name it, and to come right into our county, that's the first thing you see. So once again, we've got to educate everyone more on keeping Meriwether beautiful, because it's an eyesore. It's also a hazard, especially with the tires, with the water and the mosquitoes, and so we've really got to educate our citizens even more on the importance of that. I attended the Partners in Education meeting yesterday morning. That was a great meeting. One of the things that they talked about, they're going to have a career and college day at the school on April the 15th. So if anyone wants to be a part of that, or if you know of a company that or college that you can encourage to come and be a part of that, please do so. So that was really good. The other thing is back to trash. With the Durand landfill, we just want to see, is there any way possible that we can have a recycling location in the county? Everyone's keep asking me, we've got trash, but can we do something around recycling in the county? Most people are saying if they do, there's some people who want to recycle, but if they go outside of Meriwether County to go to Fayette or LaGrange, they can't do it because they always ask you for your driver's license, and if it doesn't show that...
We're working on that with Keep Meriwether Beautiful. That was part of our discussion last week.
So once again, if we can maybe get people towards the recycling part, because there are some people who really want to do that, and that may help eliminate some of the trash problem as well. The last thing is, I was at the city council meeting in Luthersville, and Ron, this is kind of to you. There's a house in the city of Luthersville it's burned. It's been, maybe caught fire maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And he says what an eyesore it is. What is the policy for burned buildings and things of that nature? So I asked the city council, and they just referred me back to you, which I thought was strange, because it's in the city limits of Luthersville. But they said that they're governed by our ordinance. Is that true, or what is?
They kind of follow, but they have jurisdiction there, and we can't write citations, do anything besides city limits.
Okay.
They have to deal with that problem.
All right, well, they passed it on to you, so I'll pass it back on to them. All right, so just wanting to know what our ordinance is regarding buildings that's been burned and it's an eyesore.
City problem.
That's a city problem, okay. That's it for me. But once again, I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our county attorney is not here this morning. She's in a trial. She has been last week and this week, but hopefully she'll be back with us at our next meeting. Next is time for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to say anything, we ask that you come to the podium, sign in, give us your name, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Okay?
Mr. Cecil Hay has already signed in for it.
He's already signed in. Okay. Is there anyone else?
I don't want to sign in. I would like Mr. McCoy to say what time Monday night the Veterans Recognition will be. He gave the...
I think it's 6:30, isn't it, there?
6:30.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Hay?
Yes, I come over here to ask you to do something about that channel down the road there, and ask you to get a roller to use number 4 rocks and roll them in. If you ain't gonna stop it. But you're gonna have a heavy roller. You're a packer, you know what I mean? And because Commissioner, did you, county commissioner,
Mr. Gay.
Yes, sir. I'm
did
sorry.
you go over and ride that road like you said?
I have not been able to get out and ride roads, been very tied up, but I am. Bruce and I have talked about getting out later this week and looking at several road issues. But I know what you're talking about. I do.
And I'd like for you to, all of you to go over and, like it is now, and see what kind of shape the road's in. If you ain't gonna pave it, get number 4 and get Bruce a road where he can put that number 4 rock in there, and it's going, that short space gonna take about 3 loads of number 4 to back it down on account of the dirt's rotten. And you just gotta use common sense on that, because I don't know how many loads of gravel is stepping out like that right there. Bruce might, I don't. But, what this county needs to do, this is a big county. And we got tremendous amount of roads that's not paved. What y'all need to do is put a tax on the people, because y'all represent the people, to buy road equipment. That way, you figure it out. You figure it out. When you hire a company to come in here and pave a road, how much profit they are making, and are they using the best
Material.
tar? They gonna use the cheapest stuff they can where they can make money, make you pay top price for it. But see, this way you know what you're putting down. And if this county don't buy their own equipment, I don't know why, because this is a huge county and got I don't know how many miles of roads out. And I'd make one suggestion. Now, you gotta take care of that equipment when you get it. I'd get me a Cuban down here. They'll look after it, they'll work, and they'll do the stuff right. And, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it too.
I appreciate it if y'all would come over, I mean, every one of you come over and see what kind of shape that road's in. And, there's no sense in it. Because all you're doing is going in there, putting rocks, and it just goes right on down. But if you get a roller and roll it, now you're buying something right down at, the Woodbury. Put that in, a library, all right? You mean you can't afford a roller? Well, Bruce can have it and get it and pay the road right with it. I mean, how much money is in the splash fund now?
I'm not sure exactly what the balance is on that, Ms. Tate. I know we have some dollars in there to be able to cover some of the equipment that I talked about earlier, though.
Do you realize how many people come down that road, going over to that factory to work?
Yes, busy.
Y'all make money off the profit they get. Y'all get taxes on what they make. But they come down that road like that. One of these days, y'all remember the Wine Car Hotel?
Yes, sir. The big fire.
You
Yes, sir.
how the people were jumping on the cement, just killing themselves. No escape.
That's right.
Am I right? I'm right.
That's true.
And, one of these days, there's gonna be a fire truck or ambulance come down through there, not knowing that road. And they're gonna cause more damage than anything, because that road's in bad shape. It is in bad shape.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hay. We do appreciate it, and we'll certainly get busy working on it.
That's where you're going wrong. I've been talking, but you let two people over there talk about 20 or 30 minutes.
So that was for our...
You can't do that. You can't make I give me surety, a copy of the war. How many, people were killed, veterans. There's 30,000 fought in it. That's the reason I'm right here in this chair now. There's 33,000 in Korea, the war I fought in killed. If you look at the World War II as before, I don't forgot just how many. It shows you can give them a copy.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to get with Mr. Tate. He and I have met before, but I hadn't had a chance to see him. I'll go up and take a look at that road and visit with him and gather the information, tell him what we're looking at, because we have talked about some improvements on that road already. I'll go up and see him, and we'll share that with him. Okay? Can I give you a call?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
But remember now, everybody's got the same right and same amount of time to speak. See, I know And it don't much matter to me, as long as I tell y'all the truth. I am told you in Lassie. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And when you give a veteran 3 minutes, that's mighty poor judgment. And I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. You're welcome to come anytime.
Appreciate your service.
Thank you, Mr. Hay.
We do have need for an executive session for legal and personnel. Our future meetings, we have one on the 22nd. Of course, we've also scheduled a work session on that same day for 4 p.m. and then we'll have a regular meeting. You're certainly welcome to wait till we get through the executive session. Can we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, we're in executive session. I asked for that. Yeah, that's what I
Just get
said.
somebody to give me a call. Bill, Miss Bailey, it don't matter, anybody.